Hello, and welcome to An Introduction to Databases, where we will learn about the various databases that the college subscribes to, what they consist of, and how you can use them in your research. It's best to mention at the beginning that most of our databases come to us through our membership in VIVA, the Virtual Library of Virginia, which consists of all of the 2- and 4-year public institutions of higher education in the state of Virginia, plus about 40 private institutions such as Christendom. We all pool our funds together and are thus able to get many more resources than we could ever get on our own. So anytime you see that something is provided by VIVA, that's how we are accessing it. Today we are going to look at 4 databases in particular, and then a little quick introduction to some of the other ones that are here. And these are all available to you from the main library page under the A to Z list of databases. They are all searched in WorldCat, and it's still the best place to start is in WorldCat when you're searching, but there are reasons why you might want to go into the databases themselves, especially as you get further into your studies. So it's good to know what the databases are, what they include, and how to search them. The first one we're going to look at here is JSTOR. JSTOR offers us 2 main things. One is an ebook library. We do subscribe to, it's called an EBA, or evidence-based acquisition. We are slowly buying books from JSTOR, but in the meantime they're letting us basically view all of the books in a particular collection. It's about 43,000 books that we have access to on a chapter-by-chapter level. So you cannot download a whole ebook, but you can download chapter by chapter as you need, and they're all searchable within the JSTOR collection here as well as through WorldCat. JSTOR also offers, and its main purpose is a journal database. The journals that are in here generally go back to Volume 1, Issue 1 of each journal that they offer. Now there are about 15 different collections of journals in JSTOR. We subscribe to 7 of those collections. When you search, by default you are searching the ones that we have access to, so you'll be finding all full-text resources, whether they're articles or book chapters. But anytime you want, you can do a search based on everything that's in the collection, not just the things that we subscribe to. This is generally the case with most of the databases that we subscribe to. Generally, a vendor will offer many databases so that people can pick the package they want. They allow everyone to search all of the databases, but they only provide the full text for the ones that we actually pay for. So that is why sometimes you'll find that not everything you look for is available, but there generally is a way to look for it through interlibrary loan if it's something you really need. So let's go ahead and do a search on one of my favorite topics, which is Tolkien. You will see that there are 8,200 results here. If you look on the left-hand side, this is how you can sort through or narrow your topic. So if I want to look at just what Tolkien says about music, I can enter a new search term here that will search within these results, whereas if I use the search at the top, it would change the results. You can limit it to just journal articles or just book chapters. You can tell whether you want different primary source contents, the dates, the subjects, and down here at the bottom you can see either all content or just the things that I can access. Right now we're looking at only the things I can access, so you can see that every one of these has a download link where I could click it to immediately download these articles. Or if I click all content, then it will show me everything that's in the database, even if I don't have access to it currently. One note about the downloads. In JSTOR or the other databases that we're going to look at, if there is an article or a book chapter, well, book chapters are a little different, but articles, if you find an article and you download it, it's yours to keep. It cannot be used for any commercial purposes. These are all meant for academic purposes, research purposes, but they are yours to keep, so no problem downloading them and saving them to your local computer, printing them out, emailing them to yourself, some way that you'll be able to get back to them. So if I want to look at this first article, I can click on the title, and it shows me a preview of the first page, and I can actually click through the article here if I'd like. Click back, read it right here on the screen. Again, I can download it. If I want a link that I can get back to this article, is right here, and I can grab this link and share it with someone, save it for myself if I didn't want to have to download the article now, and that'll always get me back to the article. Now, if you're off-site, you will have had to log in to get to the page here. I am on site, so I didn't have to log in. But if you had logged in, then this link here would be a little bit different. It would include the proxy server information, which basically means that if you save that when you're off-site, when you go to get back to it again, it'll ask you to log in again. And it'll know that you were coming from Christendom College to try to get that. Now, you'll see that this is from a journal called Modern Fiction Studies. If we switch over and take a quick look at let's see, not this one, but there we go. Modern Fiction Studies. You can see under Journal Information, it says here that the coverage goes from 1955 to 2014, and it has a moving wall of 5 years. Now, a moving wall is also called a publisher embargo. What this means is in some of our databases, many of our databases in fact, the publishers have told the database providers, we will allow you to put this information up for people to use when they subscribe, but not the most recent issues. So in JSTOR, generally the journals go all the way back to Volume 1, Issue 1, as you can see this one does. But the most recent few years, in JSTOR many times it's 5 years, sometimes only 3 years, sometimes it doesn't have a moving wall at all. The publisher reserves those issues for themselves to put out on their own site or some other site where they're getting additional payments for it. It's one way that they use to pay for their for the journals that they're providing. So just so you are aware of that, even though we have access to the majority of the journal's issues and volumes, often the most recent ones are not available. So that's good to be aware of. In this article, you can, as I said, download it from here. Many times there will be a table of contents right next to it here. This one does not have one. Although if you did go back to that, to the journal information page again, you'll see that all of the volumes that we'd have access to are listed here, and you can expand any one of these and go into the issue for that journal and view all the different articles and find them in that way. Now, another reason you might want to use JSTOR specifically is to search for book reviews. Book reviews are a great way to find out about a book and determine what it's about. Book reviews, as I mentioned in another video in this series, are generally published within 6 to 18 months of when a book is published. Finding book reviews in JSTOR is relatively simple. Go to the advanced search screen, put in the title of the book you're looking for. In this case, I'm looking for one called Interrupted Music. Put it in quotes. Don't try to put too much in the title if it's a really long title or if it includes punctuation. Just try to put something simple that'll be easily found, but putting it in quotes means that it's going to search for that exact phrase. And then down here in the narrow by section, click Reviews. So you'll be looking for just book reviews, and then click Search. And now you'll see that the first item that comes up is a review of Interrupted Music, reviewed by Shelley Gurney, and then I can go and look at that article. Book reviews are very useful in finding out information about the book when it was published, since they are published usually within a year or so of the publication. The author of the review, which the reviews are usually fairly short, this one is just a couple pages long, it generally gives you a bit of information about the book, how it fits into the current literature, whether or not the author of the review found it helpful or not, who they recommend it for, advanced scholars, intermediate scholars, beginning readers, whomever, whether or not they recommend it at all. So this is a very useful tool when you're trying to find out about a book that you really don't know a lot about, especially if it's a book that you have found online, you're not sure if you want to buy it or borrow it, and so this is a way to find out about it. The next database I want to look at is Project Muse. Project Muse is a current issues database. It is a collection of databases like all of our databases. We subscribe to one called the Basic College Collection, about 120 journals. But the difference between Muse and JSTOR is that in Muse, if a journal is published today, you have access to it today. They only go back, however, to about the mid-1990s. But one nice thing is that Muse and JSTOR are aware of each other because I have connected them. So sometimes in JSTOR it will say this article is available in Muse, and in Muse it will say this article is available in JSTOR and have a link, and you can get right back and forth. So in that sense they sort of feed to each other. But one way you can search in JSTOR is to just search for a journal. So if you say, okay, I want to look in the Thomist, so just type in Thomist and enter. It will not only search articles within the Thomist, but it will say, would you like to see the actual journal itself? This way, if you want to browse through the journal, you can. And this looks very similar to what you saw in JSTOR when we looked at the Browse Journal page, just looking at the various issues where you could then click in and actually look at the articles that are in that particular issue and then download them, review them here on the screen. One difference here is that whereas in JSTOR everything was a PDF download, which is what we have here, you can also do a view, which is an HTML view, and view it directly on the screen. One nice thing about Project Muse is that when they do this, they give you things like this where it says end page 329 or end page 330. So if you wanted to take a quote from this and you copy it and paste it into your paper, you can immediately put in that it was on page 330 within this article. Sometimes when you get an HTML view of an article on screen, there's no way to tell what page number it came from, because unlike a PDF, which looks just like it was photocopied out of a journal, an HTML article just scrolls on. And if JSTOR or if Project Muse hadn't put in these page numbers for us, we wouldn't know what page number it was on in the original, so we couldn't quote it that way. So instead, what Turabian says is if there are no page numbers listed like this, you can do one of two things. If there are subsections, like this one has section 1, Infinitely Powerful Mercy, then you can say, instead of a page number, say under Infinite Powerful Mercy. And then someone will know what section to go look at. If there are no subsections, you just leave the page number off. That's how Turabian deals with it, and that's a quick introduction of how to deal with it on an HTML article like this if it did not have the page numbers listed. So we can also just search just like we would have anywhere. So I'm going to do my Tolkien music search just like I did in JSTOR. And I'll just find the articles that I want. And again, very simple search. Just click to view the article. You can always just click to download to get the PDF. And again, it's yours to keep once you get it. Very simple to search, very simple to use, access the articles. But just remember that Project Muse is a current issues database, so if you're looking for more recent articles, this is one place you might want to come to look for that. The next database to look at is EBSCOHost. This is a collection of about 30 different databases, not just collections within one database, but actual different databases. Anything from Academic Search Complete, which is the backbone of this collection of databases, to an ebook collection, some archives of different journals, as well as indexes, just indexes of different journals. But you can select to search all of them if you'd like, or select any one of them by clicking on their title. I'm going to go ahead and search all, and I'm going to do my favorite search here for Tolkien and music. And again, you'll see a very familiar layout. Along the left-hand side is where you can narrow things down in different ways. It looks a little different than the others, but it offers the same basic information. I can limit it to just full text items, or I can tell it I just want to see scholarly or peer-reviewed journals. So I'm going to do that right now. And when I review these, I can see that most of them are full text, but there are some that have just the ILL option. And I can click the ILL option and then put a request in for an interlibrary loan of this article. But I also noticed that this article was available in the Project Muse that I was just looking at. And at the end of this, I'll show you how you can go find if something is available. So I'm going to save this for now, the title of this journal, and we'll come back to that in a little while. But as you can see, if you click on any one of these, you'll view the article, and you can view the full PDF text right here. And while you're viewing the PDF in the main screen, and again it looks just like a photocopied article, you can also see that the table of contents of the journal issue are right here. So that can help you look at other articles within the same issue. This is important because there are times, especially in academic journals, when an entire issue will be dedicated to one topic. So if you find an article on your topic in an issue of a journal, it's worthwhile looking at the other articles in the same journal to see if there's something else that's also related that you may want to look at. Again, EBSCOHost, just like JSTOR and Project Muse, is basically a journal database. It does include ebooks as well. In this case, it is more of an index and abstract type database. About 60 to 65% of the journals that are in here have full text. So you will find more than half of the articles as full text, many of them not. You can limit it if you want by saying just show me the full text over here. You can also do a search of just book reviews in here, just like you can in JSTOR and Project Muse by clicking the review button down there to just see the reviews. Another thing about EBSCOHost is that it does have an embargo, or that sort of moving wall like JSTOR has. Many times you will see anywhere from about 6 to 18 months of an embargo, so the most recent issues will not be available. But unlike JSTOR, it does not go as far back, so you're not going to go back to Volume 1, Issue 1. You're going to go back generally to about the mid to early 1990s on most of the journals that are in here. And then there are some of them that will start and stop at very sort of random dates, it seems, but it's just based on when EBSCO is able to get licensing from the publishers to put them in. Sometimes it stops early just because the journal went out of print, and so it's no longer available. The fourth database I wanted to take a look at today is the Gale Literature Resources. It includes a few little things here, including some ebooks, which are mostly reference materials, but I wanted to look at the Gale Literature Resource Center in particular. The best way to start here is just do a search. I'm going to do a search just on Tolkien because I want to find out some information about him. And so you'll see here that the results are showing for literature criticism, biographies, topic and work overviews, reviews and news, primary sources and literary works, and multimedia. The one I want to look at here is biographies. And you'll see that there are many biographies on Tolkien and other Tolkiens besides just J.R.R. Tolkien. And some of them come from this Dictionary of Literary Biography, which is a nearly 400-volume dictionary of American and British primarily authors in all genres that gives basic background information on the authors and their works. You can see that in each one of these it tells you about how long the article is, when it was published. So this one's a 1,300-word article, 10,000-word article. So let's look at this one. It's on J.R.R. Tolkien. And you can see over on the right here how the article is broken down. And you can look through his books, some other writings and letters, and then the actual biographical essay. It goes through his life and his works. And then near the bottom, we will find some bibliography which we can use to find out more information about Tolkien and his works and what others have said about them. Many times at the end of these articles it will include as well information about where to find obituary articles for authors if they have died. This is important because it's often instructive to find out what people thought about an author's works at the moment of their death, and so looking at those obituaries can be very helpful in that respect. As I mentioned, there are a few ebooks as well in the Gale collection. Most of them are things that are searchable just with the basic search, but you can see here there's the Twain's and Scribner's series, which are very popular multi-volume works. But the one I wanted to point out is under religion, the New Catholic Encyclopedia, which you can get to the full text of the entire New Catholic Encyclopedia right here online, and that's very useful as well. Before we run through the remainder of the databases here, just to mention what's in them, I wanted to show you in EBSCOHost I had found a journal which I had noticed the article was available in Project Muse. If you click on this link here for WorldCat Journal Locator and paste in the title that I had saved, hit enter, it will show you if we own a journal and in electronic access and where you can find it. And so here it is. There are 4 different places you can find it, and one of them of course is Project Muse. It shows you the date ranges that are included, so it includes all those embargoes. And this way you can click right through to the main title page of those journals and browse through them to find the article that you are looking for. And so finally, I wanted to look at some of the other databases that are listed here. I'm not going to go into each one of these, but I'll just give you a brief description of what is available of many of these. Bloom's Literature, right at the top, is a literature database, obviously. It includes a lot of information from the Bloom's guides, very helpful in beginning any research of any in-depth sort on literary topics. The Brapel Online and Cambridge Core are both trials that we have during the COVID epidemic, or whatever you want to call it. The Dissertations and Theses Global is very interesting. If you are searching WorldCat, many times you will see that something is either a book, an article, a DVD. Sometimes it'll say dissertation or thesis. Those are usually very difficult to borrow from other libraries because generally only 1 or 2 libraries own them and they don't want to let them go. However, many of these dissertations or theses are actually scanned and sent into this database through UMI in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and made available to us. And there are almost 2 million dissertations and theses from around the country and even around the world that you can get full text access to. So if you're searching WorldCat, you see dissertations and theses as the type, you might want to come here to the Dissertations and Theses Global Database to search for it and see if you can find it. EconLit is a database of economic literature. Factiva is a news source for print and voice news, and it's basically the transcripts of those voice ones, as well as many newspapers. Films on Demand is mostly documentary or educational type films that you can get, the full films. This Google Scholar link here is something I will go into a little bit more at the very end of our talk here, so I'll hold off on that. Intellect's Past Masters, and as you can see there's a bunch of them here marked IPM with the author's name. I tried to pull a few of the major ones out, but Intellects is a group that provides full text of many classic sources. We have a lot of Aquinas, Anselm, Plato, Aristotle that you can get access to, and it's the complete works, fully searchable. You can download, print out sections of them as you need, but very useful, very highly used in our library. L'Année Philologique is a classics database. Ask your professors about it if you want to find out more, but it's one of the major classics databases. Skipping down a couple here, MLA International Bibliography, another literature resource. Naxos Music Library. It has access to millions of songs. It's mostly used for our sacred music program, but there are millions of songs out there, tracks from different collections, primarily classical, religious, but there are others as well that you can take a look at. The New Catholic Encyclopedia, I already showed you this, but here's a direct link to it. The Oxford resources, Oxford English Dictionary, if you're any sort of a Wordophile or whatever you want to call that, it's a very interesting thing to look into. But the Oxford Handbooks Online, Reference Online, and Scholarship Online, as well as this trial that we currently have for the University Press Scholarship Online, are some great reference resources to get into some topics. So click on any of those to research those. You can see there are a lot of trials here that are, at the time of making of this database or this video, we have a lot of trials because of the COVID situation in our country. So those are all available to you. Salem Press Online is for some ebooks that we have. Social Explorer is a way to look at statistics about different social data around the world. Springer is some behavioral sciences text, as it indicates there. The TLG and TLL, again, classics resources. Direct link to the Thomist, sort of a holdover because we used to have to get to it a different way. And then the last one on the list, Wiley Online Library, is another sort of general database of different resources that we have, just articles generally. Okay, the last piece I want to show you today is this Google Scholar link. It says Google Scholar Christendom because it's going to be using our Christendom account to log us in so that it will know which databases we have access to. So when I go to Google Scholar, if I do my old search for Tolkien music, I come up with a bunch of things that I can look through and use as I like. There's one here that's a freebie, but down at the bottom there's one that's actually available in Project Muse, and when I click on the link it takes me right to the PDF for this in Project Muse, and I have this article available to me immediately. The other way to use Google Scholar is, let's say I have an article like this that I found in JSTOR, and in JSTOR I can look here and see the references that were made with this article. So this article, these are the footnotes, these are the cited references, and I can go back and review the research that this author did to create this article. So I'm looking at the past research. Well, if I take the title from this article here and paste it into Google Scholar, I get this. Again, it's telling me that it's available at JSTOR. Great, I just came from there. But what I want to look at is the cited by 36 here. I can click on this, and now I'm looking at articles or books who have cited the article. So now instead of going backwards in the research, I'm moving forward in the research. And I'm seeing after this article was published who has cited it and done additional research on it. And now I have a whole bunch of new information that I can look at, and this is especially useful for older articles so that you can see how things move forward, or even for newer articles so you can see who's keeping up with this and doing the most recent research on it. It's a very useful tool. There's a lot more to Google Scholar than what I've shown here, but it's a great way to quickly find information like this where you're trying to follow the research forward. Thank you very much.